Man, I can't believe it. I was so confident my last machine was going to finally lift me out of poverty. A machine that auto-makes copper golems? That's like unlimited cheap labor. You know, I tried selling the concept to Nike, but apparently they've already been doing it for years. Well, if I'm ever going to remake my fortune, I need another idea. How can I make a business that basically does no work and just generates money off other people's labor? Oh my God. It's perfect!
Focus on the Dow, not so focused on OPEC. Yes, OPEC did cut production by 1.5 million barrels per day.
Really, you're seeing just broad-based declines across all of the major technologies.
I have an idea. In case you didn't get it from the intro, what we're going to be doing today is enriching ourselves by making a banking system out of nothing but redstone. One which provides horribly aggressive and unfair payday loans so we can basically live off the interest rates and other people's labor. But before we get to that, I need to tell you about today's sponsor, Wondershare UniConverter 17. When I say UniConverter is an all-in-one digital tool, I am not joking. Like, look at how many different tools are all available with this one piece of software. It's like a digital Swiss Army knife. It has a built-in video editor, screen recorder, DVD burner, video enhancer. It's brilliant. And the best part of all these systems being built into one piece of software is how easy it all works together. I can record my Minecraft gameplay with the screen recorder, digitally enhance the video for better quality, and then send it on over to the video compressor to save on all my precious memory. I can then add a watermark using the watermark adder to make sure no one steals my precious videos. I write subtitles on all my YouTube shorts, but with UniConverter's Subtitle Editor, it can auto-subtitle my shorts for me. No more spelling errors in like every single one. I have been using it a ton for the production of this very video you're watching. Like, honestly, if you've ever thought about making content online, I highly recommend UniConverter. So do check it out by using the link on screen or in the description. And thanks again to Wondershare for sponsoring today's video. And before I begin, I need to give you a warning. Today's video is probably going to be my most educational, because there's no other way around it. I have to explain some genuine computing terms to you. And it's horrid. It's unavoidable. Before we can build a banking system in Minecraft, we first have to learn how loans actually work. So we are going to borrow 10 diamonds. Now, how bank loans actually work is occasionally they add on interest, which is represented by this middle bar here. Now, interest is the extra money the bank gets for facilitating you borrowing money from the bank. Let's say our loan has 10% interest. We then take the interest and add it on to our original loan. So our 10 diamonds now becomes 11. Now here's the thing about bank loans. They don't just take interest one time. They actually repeat it over a period. Let's say they add on interest every single day. That one light now gets added onto the 11 for 12, and then on the next day, the person now owes 12. You can see how this quickly builds up for them owing a lot of money, especially if we do it every single day. So let's take it step by step. First things first, we need a way to represent the number of how much is owed using only on and off signals. We need to talk about binary. A binary number is a way of writing a normal number using just on and off signals, or as we call them, ones and zeros. Just like how a normal number, the digits further to the left are worth more, the same is true for binary. Except instead of tens, hundreds and thousands, they increase by a power of 2. So let's say we have a binary number with 4 digits. Each digit would be worth 1, 2, 4 and 8. And we simply put a 1 next to the number we want to use. So for example, this is what the number 4 would look like in binary. This is what the number 8 would look like, and if we want to use the number 3, we simply combine the 2 and the 1 to make this, which is 3. My first thought to try and implement a binary counter in Minecraft was actually using copper bulbs and observers like this. And to be fair, this is a pretty simple implementation. Every time I hit this note block, it's actually going to increment our binary counter by 1 each time. seems pretty simple, right? We should be able to get something from this. However, in my research about binary stuff in Redstone, I quickly found out that doing it horizontal like this is actually a pretty goddamn terrible idea. So in my conversations with the Open Redstone Engineers Minecraft server, which by the way I highly recommend, they gave me this little module over here. This is a nifty little vertical binary counter. Basically the equivalent of this, but better and more complicated and better and better. Not only can I spam it and it's got like boom, 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 and it still keeps track of it, but it also has these lights over here. What this is, while I currently have 5, that's 5 in binary, I can actually turn on any light I like, such as these lights over here, and now if I hit this bottom note block, it will actually get rid of what I've currently got loaded and will load in this binary number instead. So it'll do that, and you can see it's carried it over. So if this number on the left represents how many diamonds we currently owe the bank, we need a way to now calculate the interest. How do we get a percentage of a binary number? Now while we could do a bunch of fancy math to get the specific percentage values for a binary number, there is actually a much simpler solution: bit shifting. As each digit in binary is worth double the one before it, if we take our binary number and just simply move it to the left by 1 place, this has the exact same effect as doubling our number. And if we then move it to the right, this halves the number instead. So an easy way to get a percentage value would be to just take our owed amount, bit shift it to the right 2 places, and now that's worth 25% of our original value. So how can we implement bit shifting into Minecraft? Well, it's really simple. This is our output from our binary counter, and what we do is we just take these blue signals and physically just move them down. It's as simple as that. Look, we have this number here, bit shift it twice down, same number there. It's that simple. What we have to do now is the next step, where we have to figure out how we can add these 2 binary numbers together. How do we do that? Let's say we have 2 binary numbers, A and B, shown here. The method of adding them together is super simple. We just simply work right to left, working digit by digit. Here we can see that we need to add 0 plus 0. Well, that'll be easy, that equals 0, so we then move on to the next digit. Now it's 0 plus 1. Once again easy, that's just 1. The next digit, however, is 1 plus 1, which is 2. However, we obviously can't do 2 in binary, so that actually overflows the number all the way back to 0. And instead, we carry over a 1 to the next digit, which just so happens to be 0 plus 0, so that's 0, but we carry on that 1, so it now becomes a 1. And like that, we've added up 2 binary numbers. 4 plus 6 equals 10. So now we know how binary addition works on paper. How does that actually look like in Redstone? Well, to do that in Redstone, we have our red input and our blue input here, and we actually have this purple module, and you can see this is repeated a whole bunch of times. What each one of these layers is doing is something called a full adder circuit, which I'm not going to get into the details of how specifically that works, just because, you know, it's a bit boring. Just know that this little module here in the magenta is basically doing exactly what I just demonstrated, just with the signals. We can actually visually see this is already working. Over here we have the number 8 light on, and we can actually see that the number 8 light is also on here, but in addition, this 2 light. But now we need to give the players a way to actually pay off their loan. I know, disappointing, but unfortunately, banking regulations do say that we actually have to at least give them a chance to pay off their loan. What this actually means for our machine is we now need to take this binary number over here and subtract the amount of diamonds the player is putting towards it every day. And the way we actually do subtraction in binary is not by actually doing subtraction, but by adding on negative numbers. There is technically a difference, but not really. Just trust me with this. How can we represent a negative number in binary? Well, there's many methods, but the one we're going to be using is called 2's complement. And it's real simple. Instead of the leftmost digit being worth the most, we're simply just going to invert it and make it a negative number. So 8 now becomes -8. This allows us to write negative numbers like this. So for example, -8 plus 2 equals -6. Great! But we need one more thing. How can we turn a normal number, like 5 in binary, into its negative counterpart, -5? We just take the binary number for 5 and flip every digit, so 1s become 0s and 0s become 1. And then we simply add 1 to the result. So what I've got over here is this yellow and green circuit, and what this is responsible for is calculating how many diamonds the players actually paid towards their loan. So just for demonstration, I'm going to pay 3 diamonds. 1, 2, and 3. And we can see that 3 is represented by this positive binary number here. But as explained earlier, we need to make this a negative number, and through that, we invert it through these redstone torches over here. The top one is always going to be on because this is how we do negatives, and then we put it through another full adder block, where we then add on 1. That makes it -3, represented by all these lights over here. And if we actually do the calculations of like -100, I'll just put it on screen, I'll put it on screen. We can actually see that that does indeed -3. That does indeed calculate negative, whatever. Okay, so now we have a circuit where the end result is how much we owe plus the interest. And now we have a circuit where this calculates the negative of how much we're actually paying. All we have to do then is take this circuit and add them together. Easy as that. And that's what I've done over here. It's this like a big complicated block, but as you can see, this big block over here is just that, and this little block over here is just that. And then they join together in another one of these full adders, and then we finally get our output. What we then do with the output is we just run it along over here, and it goes back into our original owed amount. Simple as that. We then hook that up to a daylight sensor, so it updates the new amount every single Minecraft day to add on interest. And what we have here is basically a payday loan fully working. Whoa! Another advantage with using 2's complement is we know that if this top light is ever on our output, it means the final result is negative. And as a result, it means the player has successfully paid off the loan in full, which means we can actually take a little signal output from this, and when the loan has actually been paid, we can activate a little firework rocket as a result. Congratulations! And in fact, we can actually take the top result of this number here, and if the player ever gets a loan that big and they owe so much debt that they overflow the system, we can actually take an output from this and activate what will become a, let's call it, Bankruptcy circuit, but more on that later. And while this is fully working as a system now, let's be honest, it's unimpressive. The kind of person which would take a loan which is clearly against their own interest with a 25% interest rate, they're not the kind of person which is interested in utilitarianism or efficiency or working for their own interests. No. We need to give them a design which will wow them into getting a loan. Ladies and gentlemen, may I please present the Loan Shark. I tried to base this off the Jaws movie poster. I don't know how well it comes across. It's really hard to build a shark, alright? I tried my best. Of course, I have actually decided to label what each light represents because, let's be honest, the kind of person who gets a payday loan isn't that good at math. And just so you know, I really tried my best to make the output just be like a normal, like 1, 2, 3, 4 denary number, but converting binary to a decimal number is surprisingly really goddamn hard. It requires like a multiplexer into BCD, and then I would need a demuxer to put it into like an LED. Look, if you know what those words mean, congratulations, because I don't. So, Mr. Shark, let's give you a whirl. Now, I would like a loan, and as you can see, I am very down on my luck, so I'll probably want, you know, just a couple diamonds, just Just a couple. You know, I've got to pay for the kids, the alimony payments, I've got to pay for this week's food shop, and then there's rent, and then I owe Gary like 20 bucks, and then, oh my god, I gotta get petrol for my car, and then,
Maybe just a bit extra so I can, you know, get that TV subscription. Oh god, I have to pay the TV license as well. I mean, oh, that's added up.
34 diamonds. Sure, I'll take it. And now, because I've hooked it up to daylight sensors, we can see that we currently owe 34 diamonds. If I make the time midnight, and then I make it day again, our loan should update with our new owed amount. Oh boy, how much is that increased by? 32, 48, oh no, 52. I started with 34 diamonds and one day later I owe 52. How much do we owe now? Oh god, 60. We owe 68 diamonds. It's been 3 days. Oh god, I don't even have that. And now if I make it midnight and then day again, our loan should get to the point where it overflows and activates the bankruptcy circuit. And because, you know, we don't like bankruptcy, but, oh, yeah, okay, it's activated. I was gonna say, we don't like people like that, so we need to give them incentive not to go bankrupt. So what that basically was, is as part of the banking terms and conditions, if you want to take out a loan, you are legally required to put down an ender pearl in this chamber. So if you ever go bankrupt and overflow the system from this circuit, it will activate and then teleport you into this room with our liquidation agents, I guess. And then I guess what you can do is make the whole room like hoppers, so you can collect their armor and their tools as collateral, I guess. You could totally make this better by like adding on some sort of like permanent memory and then like an account system, so you could have like multiple accounts for different people. And at that point, you are basically like an actual banking system, which would just be super cool. And as always, if you somehow feel the need to build this in a survival world or on a server, you can find the schematic on my Discord server. And while I'm shilling for my own stuff, I should definitely mention that I have recently started a Minecraft server, and I have some pretty big plans for it in the future, so definitely check it out. The IP is on screen. Future videos incoming, trust me. But I guess that's all I have for now.